The damage here, though, is remarkable to see. And when you see it and you know that people are already responding in other ways to help someone that's in more need than they are. Well, Bill, when you think of the word progress, you really have to think of it on a broader scale here. Think of what this town has gone through over the last year, just mountains and piles of debris from businesses and homes, the Graves County Courthouse even. For the second day in a row as a procession went through this town, time stood still and it was eerily quiet as everyone just watched and paid their final respects to this man who patrolled these streets for nearly 40 years. Put me in a room with 13,000 fellow Kentuckians any day, and it was just a magical moment. You could feel the pride for the state and the support for those flood-ravaged communities last night. And now the work begins to spread that money out to families and organizations who need help to recover. Can you tell I'm obsessed with this story? This is what, my third this week on it. All right. Sue was so hopeful that it would get some attention and make it to head coach John Calipari. But for millions of people to see it and even get the national news outlets to pick up the story, she said that was something she never expected to happen here. But that just shows you the power of Big Blue Nation. Driving down Highway 476 in Breathitt County, you'll find total destruction from the deadly floods.
The water was like, we were all almost up to the ceiling.
Troublesome Creek became a raging river that night.
We thought we were going to be pulled out, but with a boat, but nobody came, and the water kept getting higher. The Cundiff family was holding on for their lives. Here's where the Cundiff family home stood here on Highway 476 in Clayhole. Across the street is Troublesome Creek, which is down a deep embankment. But in the early morning hours of July 28th, that fast-moving and high-raising water was no match for this home and the family that was stuck inside.
Trailer that came loose from the foundation and was floating down there. Troublesome.
We didn't know how long we were floating.
It's at this point the Cundiff's home broke apart and they were separated. Sister Nancy has not been seen since.
I don't know if she's okay. I don't know how badly hurt she is.
Nancy's mom, Ruby, died in the flood. Her sister and dad are staying positive and praying that Nancy is okay.
I keep saying to myself and everyone, that no news at this point is good news, because if you don't hear any bad news, then that's good.
Every passing day, the family waits to hear from Nancy, her dad, with a simple message to his girl.
I love you. I love you.
We've been through a lot, but we can't give up.
In Breathitt County, Chad Hedrick, WKYT. In small eastern Kentucky towns, communities wait all week for those Friday night lights to come on. Here in Breathitt County, these lights were shining bright on a community that has seen so much darkness. The first time stepping on the field and hearing the crowd. Our feelings the Breathitt County Bobcats didn't know if they would experience this year after the floods ruined their facilities.
We would be up to water in our necks right now, and all of the equipment, the trophies, everything that these players need to get through, all of their helmets, everything covered in mud.
The team, like many in Breathitt County, has suffered tremendous losses from the floods. Not having a season was ever an option.
We have players that don't have homes, we have players that don't have vehicles, ways to get around. So this is a way for just for a little while to say, we're going back to normal.
The field is still muddy in places and some parts are not really usable, but it doesn't matter. This game, this season, are both happening.
We really wanted to get this game ready. There was some question a couple weeks ago if we could pull this off, because when we first started, we had a little bit of doubt if we could pull it off. But as every day progressed, we think we could do this for the kids and the community.
For a few moments, you're just involved in that. You don't have to think about the world and the mud and the smell and all those other things.
A moment to take a breath and celebrate the touchdowns.
Just be good to see our community come together, just to be able to socialize and talk to some people that maybe we've not got to check on or see.
And certainly a victory for this team, this school, and this community. Of course, there are reminders still of the floods just a few weeks ago, but the best reminder of all is how strong this community is. In Breathitt County, Chad Hedrick, WKYT. Bill, good evening to you. Right over my shoulder here, you see a temporary memorial where the Graves County Courthouse once stood. That lists the names of the 24 people from Graves County who were killed in the tornado. That includes 9 of those deaths were at the Mayfield Consumer Products candle factory right here just on the edge of town where I am. Several people were inside working that night as the EF4 tornado collapsed that building. And you may remember last year when we were down here, we talked to a man who was inside the candle factory that night, and his name is Chance Pitts, and he and I caught up again while I've been down here this week to talk about what the last year has been like for him and the community as they work to remember, but also recover. It's a drive Chance Pitts took almost daily, but this time it was different.
Little turning in the gut a little bit.
All that remains of the Mayfield Candle Factory is this slab of concrete and mangled metal still in a tree. But for Chance, the memories linger like it was yesterday.
Thoughts do come up in my head every so often, not as much as they did at first. A lot of people I'd like for them to be able to just be able to forget about it, but it's something that ain't ever gonna be forgotten. I mean, even if you move away or do whatever, it's still going to be in the back of your head.
There are daily reminders. Chance is still suffering from injuries from the night of December 10th and still isn't able to work.
Been a little rough from last year, so with everything going on and medical and all that.
Many of his co-workers and friends have since left the region after struggling to recover or move forward. Chance is still working on it himself and is in therapy.
It's always going to be a thought in my head. I'm always on the edge now whenever the weather gets just right. If it gets real windy or dark, I pay real close attention to the sky, and my wife hopes that one day I'll be okay, but it's just something that even in therapy I've been told that I'm always going to have that little piece of me that's going to be skeptical about stuff.
Chance says he keeps in touch with a couple of his former co-workers, but much like the tornado, they are long gone. He really doesn't come around Mayfield that often anymore either. Over the last year, he's come to terms more with what happened and is looking to brighter days.
I guess I'm not as mad about what happened that night as what I used to be. I used to be furious about it. Family is big. Family and friends is a big important thing. I can say that. They've helped me out a lot this year.
A somber final drive through the community he served, the people Deputy William Petrie protected, standing roadside to say thank you one final time.
And I mean, it was just straight chills. I mean, that's just a feeling of, wow, the amount of love that our community gave to these officers is wonderful.
Kimberly Ousley owns a store in downtown Prestonsburg. She brought her young son to stand by the road as hundreds of police cruisers escorted Deputy Petrie to his final resting place.
I left and I felt like my body was just shaking.
Sadly, it won't be the last time this week that Kimberly sees a procession go by her store.
I can tell you right now, we're going to be out there every day. Every time an officer comes past, we will be down there and showing our support.
A chilling sight this community will see again this week and continue to salute these heroes.
I really just want all of the officers and the families and everyone involved in this, that our whole community is behind you, and we love you all so much.
On a bit of a personal note, I worked with Deputy Petrie when he worked with Kentucky State Police as the public information officer for their Pikeville post. He was always a big help to us, and you could always tell when you talked to him about his love for his job, his love for his community, and always being there to be the one to get information out there to him. He was always just a great help, and he will certainly be missed by all who knew him in this community. They say they will never forget him.